The Vatican has announced the death of Pope Benedict XVI. He was 95. His health had deteriorated in recent weeks. Benedict led the Roman Catholic Church for 8 years, until 2013, when he became the first pope in 6 centuries to announce his retirement. Born Joseph Ratzinger in Germany, he was known for his conservative theological outlook, as the BBC's religion editor Ali Maqbool reports.
Cerebral by character, Benedict was a prolific author and more at home with scholarship than pastoral work. He led the world's Catholics for 8 years and then abruptly resigned, the first pope to do so in 600 years. Joseph Ratzinger was born in southern Germany. He was just 6 when the Nazis swept into power. His parents were hostile to the regime, and though their son entered junior seminary in 1939, he was forced to join the Hitler Youth just 2 years later. He and his brother George were ordained on the same day in 1951. George became a parish priest. Joseph chose a quite different kind of ministry. First a doctorate, appointments at prestigious universities, and then the Vatican. A cardinal by his early 50s, an ailing Pope John Paul II made him head of the Sacred Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, formerly the Roman Inquisition. There he upheld traditional Catholic teaching on abortion, contraception and homosexuality. He even spoke against rock music and the Harry Potter books. When John Paul died in April 2005, he was one of the Church's longest-serving cardinals and presided at the funeral. His homily, based on Jesus' instruction, "Follow me," proved prophetic. After just 4 ballots, white smoke from the Sistine Chapel announced Cardinal Ratzinger's election. Habemus Papam, the oldest pope for 275 years. As Pope Benedict XVI, he sought to re-evangelize the West. It was an attempt to roll back the advance of secularism in Europe and North America. But in it lay an acknowledgement of the Church's declining influence in its traditional heartlands. But he also sparked controversy in 2006, when during a lecture he gave in Germany, he quoted criticism of Islam by a 14th century Christian leader and appeared to link the religion with jihad and holy war. There were violent protests in several Muslim countries. The Pope apologized and made a point of setting up the first Catholic-Muslim forum. He seemed chastened by the experience, and on visits like this one to Britain, Benedict exuded pastoral warmth and warned against marginalization of religion. But back in Rome, the Church was beginning to confront the scandal of sexual abuse by priests around the world. He was forced to deny that he'd played any role in covering up abuse, but the cases continued to mount. He later acknowledged he'd made mistakes in handling the matter. In February 2013, he shocked the world, announcing he would resign at the end of the month, citing age and failing health. The election of his successor, Pope Francis, represented a break with much of what Benedict had stood for. The challenge was to find a leader who could close the widening gap between a doctrinally conservative Vatican and the Church worldwide. Pope Benedict upheld the creeds of the Church and taught them with conviction. He died as he lived, thinking and writing about how to defend and advance those creeds in an increasingly secular world.
Pope Francis has praised his predecessor, Benedict XVI, as noble and gentle after the former pontiff's death this morning at the age of 95. Pope Benedict became the first to resign in nearly 600 years when he stepped down as the head of the Catholic Church in 2013, citing old age and poor health. King Charles has paid his own tribute, giving thanks for what he described as the former Pope's constant efforts to promote peace and goodwill to all people. Julie Etchingham looks back at his life.
The papacy of Benedict XVI will be forever remembered by his resignation from it. The first pope in 600 years to step down, this quiet, studious man shocked the world when in 2013 he said the role had become too much for him to bear. Just 8 years before, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger had become the oldest pope elected for nearly 3 centuries.
Cari fratelli e sorelle.
He had almost as a motto, faith in God is not a problem to be solved, but it's a richness to be discovered again.
Born into a Bavarian family, the son of a policeman, the young Joseph was conscripted into the Hitler Youth, but later deserted. He was appointed Archbishop of Munich in 1977. As Cardinal Ratzinger, Benedict became right-hand man to his predecessor, Pope John Paul II, as anger was beginning to grow over the abuse scandal. Nicknamed God's Rottweiler by some, there were claims he did not take the issues seriously enough. But as Pope, Benedict did confront the issue and accepted the Church's guilt. On his visit to Britain in 2010, he met victims of abuse in private and offered a full public apology.
Pax vobis. Above all, I express my deep sorrow to the innocent victims of these unspeakable crimes, along with my hope that the power of Christ's grace, his sacrifice of reconciliation, will bring deep healing and peace.
The Pope was a man of great compassion who cared deeply about global conflict. This was ground zero in 2008.
God of peace, bring your peace to our violent world. Peace in the hearts of all men and women, and peace among the nations of the earth. Turn to your way of love those whose hearts and minds are consumed with hatred.
He took that message to 2 American presidents and to Prime Minister David Cameron. Unlike his predecessor, Benedict was a reluctant pope, a studious, thoughtful man, a pianist who loved Beethoven and cats, and who lived out his final years in tranquility and privacy.
We are moved as we recall him as such a noble person, so kind, and we feel such gratitude in our hearts. Gratitude to God for having given him to the Church and to the world.
His critics say he failed to adapt the Church to the 21st century. But his beliefs that its strength lay in traditional values and absolute truths struck a deep chord with those who flocked in their thousands to see him.
The former Pope Benedict XVI, who's died at the age of 95.